JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is probably one of those memed anime in the community with a whole bunch of questionable characters. We're going to start at Battle Tendency because that's by far my most favorite part in the series, and the OST is banging. So this takes place 49 years after part 1. Expands a bit on the lore, including Hamon, a breathing technique which can be used in a variety of ways, shooting projectiles, and vampires, which I think is a good representation of them. Look at them boys, shiny teeth. In Battle Tendency, the main character is Joseph Joestar, an 18-year-old 6'3" machine. Man is just straight jacked. He's all about business and isn't afraid to throw them hands.
Welcome! Punch!
He has all the great qualities you expect out of a main character, and some other qualities that make him a straight hood type of guy. Because of his street smarts. Man straight up psychic with that.
Wait, what?
And that's why Joseph Joestar is the man. You need further proof? I got you. Bro just unloads his 45 on sight.
My boy.
Bam. Oh man, where did this guy even get that thing? Man straight mafia. And he's like, alright, he gotta be cooked. If someone unloaded like that on me, I wouldn't be standing. But nah. This broad got up and he's like, what? That's all you got, boy? JoJo is like, nah, I'm about to unleash my trap card on your ass. He got caught lacking that second, but he's like, nah, get that shit out of here. And he's like, ha, you got my trap card again.
Nani?
So bro's about to feel the heat. He about to get packed. The fight reaches its conclusion, and then that's when the vampire spills his tea. He's like, there is more of me out there. You're going to have to go find him. And you're going to have to do this and do that. And then does a villainous monologue and explodes. There ain't no redeeming qualities. That man went straight to Hades. The scene transitions over to Major Stroheim, a German major scientist. I'm not going to go on the rest, but you know what I'm talking. At first he was an unlikable character, but as part 2 progresses, he actually became more likable. And now we get introduced to one of the Pillarmen. Santana or Savento, whatever you want to call him. I like Santana better. So bro decides to start flexing on him and show everyone his unbelievable capabilities, which includes his high intellect. He starts murking everyone, and then JoJo shows up out of nowhere and smokes his ass. And now we move on to the main antagonist of this series. The Pillarmen are literally top 3 in JoJo villains. You cannot get more peak than this. These guys personify JoJo villains. And this is why you gotta watch part 2 first. Now we get introduced to the main Pillarmen. Wamu! ECDC or ACDC. And Cars. Together, they make the Pillarmen. The most flamboyant male group you've ever seen in your life. Just look at these guys. Man! They just killing it with these poses. It's kind of sus if you ask me. 3 half-naked Aztec dudes. So JoJo and his crew decide to get the jump on them. But nah, that was a terrible idea. So being the trickster that he is, he devised a plan.
Weezy out of here.
So his plan didn't work and he got his ass handed to him. Considering the worst case scenario, I say this guy got out pretty lucky. So the Pillarmen decide to get the hell out of it, because they're not going to waste their time. And they decide to disrespect him. See you later, chump. So JoJo's now stuck with a ring around his heart and his throat, and he's got to get him off or he's going to get unalived. Now here comes the training montage. He has a little over 30 days to get stronger. So JoJo gets a mentor who is a really strong Hamon user, and he has to go through all these trials and tribulations just to reach the level to beat these Pillarmen. The training was so intense and pushed JoJo to his limits. He was able to overcome each obstacle in his training due to his out-of-the-box thinking and unconventional tactics. And this is the reason why he was able to take on the Pillarmen after his training. As always, I'm not doing heavy spoilers, and you're just gonna have to watch it. Part 2, in my opinion, is one of the better parts in this series. Stardust Crusaders is still one of the best ones. And that takes place in the 80s, which is about 50 years from part 2. Which is why I'm going to be covering that in a future video, because I have to. If you haven't watched Stardust Crusaders, you're missing out on a lot. And it also means you're probably uncultured. And that's why I do reviews. It's to get the message out there. If you haven't heard about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that's like getting nut checked. So, on to the review section. Part 2, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. After watching part 1, I felt part 1 was kind of bland. it didn't have the same flair as part 2. Part 2 was what really hooked me into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure when I started watching it. That's why I say start here. Start here at part 2 to get really interested in the story and then go to part 1. But do not skip part 1 because that's how you understand how the entire story is going to go from there. JoJo's Bizarre Adventures is one of those anime where it takes a little getting used to. The animation style in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reminds me of Fist of the North Star. The mythology in JoJo's is great. It is amazing. Part 2, I loved it so much because of how much it expanded from part 1. And that's probably one of the better reasons why watching part 1 first will make you appreciate part 2 a little bit more. Joseph Joestar is my favorite JoJo out of every one of them in the entire JoJo series. He's just a very likable guy. So for me, animation-wise, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency ranks easily within the top 4. And I will die on his hill defending the reason why it's top 4. There's so many great things going for it. So as for the villains, yeah, not my favorite villains from the JoJo series. What made the Pillarmen so great was the OST that came with it. Now that's amazing. The OST for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency is amazing. Like, I could listen to this thing all the time. When it comes to OSTs, when I think of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency, it reminds me of Dragon Ball Z. Like, Vegeta's theme and Goku's Super Saiyan, like, it's so memorable and it's so memed. Like, how do you not like it? The supporting characters and Battle Tendency were also great. Major Stroheim, man, did I hate him when he got first introduced. I hated him so much. I was like, man, I do not like this guy. And then towards the end, like when we got to the later episodes, I started to like this guy a lot. Like, I still quote this guy. It's terrible. Nothing beats German science. Oh man. Now I really want to talk about the main villain in Battle Tendency, but I think I'll make a separate video where I just rank all the JoJo villains. And then there I can elaborate more on that. Well, I think it's time to wrap this video up. So based on all the things I've said earlier, you kind of guess where I'm going with this. Should you watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency? Yeah, it's a certified classic.